Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator.
Oh, fuck off!
This is the Fortean Slip with your host, Chris York.
I don't need porn, Chris. I have a good woman.
Listen, I have a good woman. I still watch porn.
Co-host, Steve Alcorn.
You are the top shit in Bigfootery if you get the invitation.
Oh, are you?
I've gotten the invitation 2 years in a row now, Chris.
Wow, not me.
And sometimes special guest, Matt Knapp.
It's part of growing older, you know? Maturing. Makes me more dignified and stuff.
Okay, George Washington.
I opted for the...
Is that what meth addicts say? That make me more dignified.
Taking on all things strange since 2013.
Wait a minute.
I don't know what the hell...
Are you saying that he's pregnant?
Possibly.
Was he implanted by one of these teenage aliens?
Did that happen to Arnold?
This device, which comes as part of Nintendo's Quality of Life initiative, is
going to have kids running around banging their heads off bricks.
Yeah.
You're about to witness the strength of creep knowledge.
Howdy! I almost fucked that up because I was trying to search for something while I was trying to intro the show. Good evening, and welcome. It's never professional, Steve. If you want professional, turn on the radio.
Okay.
This is unprofessionalism at its best or worst.
Best. I prefer both.
Something. This is episode 94, which, by the way, was what I was searching for. What episode it was, Steve.
Well, then it was show-related, so that's okay.
This is the...
I thought you were searching for porn or something.
Well, sometimes I am during the show. And I apologize for that. It distracts me. So, if you hear me fumbling...
Good thing is he never has to look far for it. It's always just right there.
It's always just a click away.
Click of a favorite.
Yeah, it's my history is just littered with it.
Episode 94.
Episode 94. This is the I Love Me a Good Werewolf movie, Matt.
Awesome.
Was I supposed to watch a movie for this?
No, because we figured...
There's so many werewolf movies out there, we're sure that you've seen several of them.
We figured in this instance, Steve, that rather than try to have you watch a movie, we'd watch a movie and watch you fumble and fuck around while we talk about it.
So like a normal show.
Right.
Okay.
And before we begin, Teen Wolf is not classified as a good werewolf movie.
Fuck, because that's the only one I've seen.
But Styles... But, Matt, can we drive the van around town and ride around on the top of it?
Of course.
Oh, okay. As long as we can do that, I'm in with Teen Wolf not being classified as a good werewolf movie. But yeah, so I had seen recently and had asked Matt to check out the movie Howl, which I'm going to assume it's a foreign movie.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that leap as well.
I don't know for sure. I didn't look. But I'm going to go, it's a foreign movie. It takes place in Europe. I know that. I don't know where in. I didn't really pay attention. I was more interested.
That is indeed foreign.
What's that?
I said that is indeed foreign to us.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for the insight, Steve.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for being the Lieutenant Uhura of the show. So I checked this movie out. I asked Matt to. It's a werewolf-styled movie. I don't know that it's a werewolf movie, though. In retrospect, it's a rather interesting movie. There's a bunch of people. They're on a train. They're, going cross country. Train breaks down in the middle of nowhere. Chaos ensues. It's not like a really deep fucking horror movie. There's not like this tremendous backstory, although there is some backstory that kind of gets relayed. It's more of just here's the movie. And I enjoyed it, albeit the fact that I did not like the creatures. The creature design, not that great. And I think Matt agreed with me on that one.
Yeah, the creatures were kind of lacking.
I didn't see it.
The concept was cool.
You said the creatures kind of looked more feline-like than wolf-like.
Yeah, the faces were flatter, and the long, skinny teeth. We've seen that in werewolf movies before, but they just had kind of a feline feel to them, especially in, I don't think we're going to ruin it for anybody because probably nobody's going to watch it. But, when they're up in trees with the prey and everything, like that's a cat characteristic, not a dog characteristic. And,
yeah, it was.
Well, I can indeed say that this was a foreign flick. It was a UK, from the UK, according to IMDb.
Look at you, investigative Steve Alcorn. Investigative reporter. I can't talk tonight. I'm fucking like Steve reading the news, just trying to speak tonight.
Because I wasn't privy to the, knowledge of what we were talking about tonight, apparently. I have to look it up on the internet now so that I have some understanding of what you guys are saying. So anyway, yes, it was directed by Paul Hyatt, and it was developed and filmed and all that in the UK. So.
Steve actually knows more about the movie from IMDb than we do from watching it. So
yeah, he's got it all down. So Steve, what's the movie about?
It's about these people and they're attacked on a train, and they have to band together and survive until morning when the creatures go away.
Well, that's the thing. The creatures didn't go away in the morning.
Well, but that
was another
the
way
IMDb profile says.
They keep on focusing on the moon and everything, and them being werewolves, and then the next day, like, oh, well, it's daylight now, everybody's safe. No, they're still there, and they're still creatures. And
they're still fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we ruined it. Spoiler alert.
Maybe that's the, they have you believing all through the movie that in the morning, well, maybe that's the hook. That's what I was saying. Maybe that's the hook of the movie. That's what you believe all the whole fucking movie, that during, when the sun comes up, these creatures go away, and everybody will be fine, and they're not. Maybe that's the whole point of the movie.
That's the M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong twist.
The twist. That's the word I was looking for.
They just wanted to get rid of the asshole.
Yeah, at the very end.
Yeah.
Being that I haven't seen the movie, I don't know, but from the way you guys are describing
we've ruined it for you, Steve.
But the concept of, a train traveling in the middle of the night across the countryside or whatever through the woods and everything breaking down, and that's the general setup of everything. I thought that was a cool concept. I thought that was a good idea. Something that I hadn't seen before. And I can imagine that would be kind of a scary thing, to be stranded on a train in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. But the creatures themselves, not so much.
Yeah, they were a little, I don't know, lacking. But, like I said, I have always enjoyed werewolf movies, werewolf stories, so on and so forth. Steve actually did a little bit of research for the show.
A little tiny bit.
Matt. I don't know if he wants to share his research with us.
Well, really, actually, all I found out, werewolves.
Did you bring enough for everyone, Steve?
Yes. I watched a Monster Quest episode. Does that count as research? No, but I did do some. The Monster Quest episode was pretty cool, and they kind of referenced what I found out, independently, that werewolves.
Is that the one with the Gable film?
Yeah, the one with the Gable film.
So we're on Dogman now.
Well, obviously, if you're talking about werewolves, you have to associate that with Dogman. You have to, because it's kind
Dogman is the name for werewolves, while trying to add some sort of scientific aspect to it.
But werewolves have been around since the Greek, the ancient Greece. I don't know, not in the same way that they are now, obviously, but if you did a human sacrifice, you would turn into a werewolf. And a lot of people think that they just said that so that it would stop people from, sacrificing humans. But, that's how a lot of these
That's a great way to stop them.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to turn into a werewolf,
some people might want to turn into a werewolf.
Well, you didn't actually...
strong supernatural being that is impervious to everything.
You didn't actually turn into a werewolf. You turned into an actual wolf. And that's where the werewolf story started. But now it's kind of morphed over time into a person turning into a wolf man, on two legs, a bipedal type creature is what we think of werewolves anyway. There was another documentary. It was done by this British dude, and he was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I can't remember his name right offhand, but it was a really good one. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but he went really in depth into the whole werewolf story. It was really cool. But there's actually people who have claimed to be werewolves and murdered people because they thought they were a werewolf. And
in the name of wolf?
Really, and that's what they thought they did. There was one guy, I think it was back in the 17 or 1800s, and he ended up, they put him in a church, like where priests stay. What do they call that? A rectory?
A house.
Yeah, but you know what I call it, a rectory. Steve.
Oh,
I know. I know, it was horrible. But anyway, we've already established before the show that I'm going straight to hell, so... Anyway, eventually he died there. But then there was a guy back in, I think it was the 1980s, that was like a serial killer, and he said he thought he was a werewolf. He ended up dying in prison.
I know there was a guy in Sacramento. He's known as the Vampire of Sacramento, who thought that he had to drink human blood to survive. He thought that he had a condition. He was a really fucked up dude. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but I did the story of it. It's on the YouTube channel. But I don't remember hearing of anyone, any stories of anyone thinking that they were a werewolf right off the top of my head.
There are a couple out there, and because we were supposed to do the show on Sunday, and we didn't. I had all the links up, but I've lost them by now, so I can't tell you the names, but I know the original one that went to the rectory or whatever, they thought he was demon possessed, of course. And so they kept him there so that they could exorcise the demons, but apparently they never did. But he never killed anybody after that. So when they took him off out of the community, but he would go kill children and eat them, and it was some really nasty shit. But he claimed to be a werewolf. So do people actually turn into wolves? I wonder.
If I was a betting man, Steve, if I was to lay some money on the table, I would say no.
Well, here's the thing. Vampires and werewolves are probably two of the oldest of that type of thing that have been around. I mean,
dude, I love me a fucking vampire story. I love me a fucking werewolf story. Give me a fucking vampire story and give me a fucking werewolf story. Any day of the week, I'll click on it. I'll read it. I will check it out. But do I believe that they exist as flesh and blood creatures or whatever? I don't know. I don't know that I could. I don't know that I could get behind that.
I'm not going to sit here and claim that vampirism there are people who claim to be vampires that, they're just not, but they think they are. And then, of course, werewolves. But these stories have been around so long. Why are they so prevalent still even today? if nothing, what are they based on? Or, were there actually people who were werewolves or vampires, or is it just something that got stretched out of proportion at one time? Like originally,
or was it just a dude who used to put on a werewolf fucking pelt or a fucking wolf pelt, and run around and act like a jackass?
Well, that one kid, the one guy who was killing children in the village and everything, he wore a wolf pelt, and he believed he was a werewolf. So yeah, that does happen. But was he actually a werewolf? No, probably not. But why do these stories still persist to this day? Is it so ingrained into our psyche?
They're entertaining.
Well, here's something you might not know, Matt. Our fucking resident specialist, Matt Knapp, just did a show.
Yeah, I heard.
On the Dogman. What'd you learn, Matt?
The Dogman of Alcatraz.
I haven't listened to that show, but I'm going to. I heard it was very entertaining.
I posted part 1. Is there part 2 yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Part 2 will be released sometime after Halloween.
You can't get it up before Halloween? It's the Dogman, Matt. It is the Dogman.
I know.
Editing, that kind of thing. It takes time, Chris.
Hey, I'm fucking Mr.
Chris knows more than anybody.
I know all about it. I've limited it to a fine science.
Yes, you have.
Zip, done.
I have too. I just let you do it.
Yeah.
In the modern mythos of the Dogman, there's all different kinds and varieties. 7 different types, supposedly.
7.
Yeah, and there's the type that have more of a human-like body with just the head of a dog. And then there's the classic werewolf type that has the actual canine-style legs, I guess you'd call them.
There's the dogs playing poker, Dogman.
There's the dogs playing poker. There's Spuds McKenzie.
There's the Ra god of
right.
The Egyptians.
Then there's those guys that wear the pug mask.
Oh, I like them. I like them a lot.
Right. Yeah, there's different types of
what
dogmen.
About Triumph, the comic insult dog?
Yes, that's an example of a dogman.
What about that stupid sock puppet that Bob uses?
I haven't seen Bob's sock puppet in a long time. The last time I think it was something about a masturbator, Joe Masturbator or something. I can't remember.
Wasn't it called Steve's dog?
My dog's name is Sandy.
So basically, if a dog stands on its hind legs, it's considered a dogman.
Right.
But there's also dogmen that are on all fours. I call those dogs. But apparently some people believe that they are dogmen.
So is the Dogman just a modern interpretation of the werewolf?
Yeah. It seems that way without the belief that they can turn back and forth into an actual man. Or
when I was watching the Monster Quest episode, there was like a park ranger or something on there, and he claimed that he was picking up a deer carcass, and this dog man or wolf man or whatever it was took it right out of the back of his truck and shit.
Right.
So
in Texas, I believe.
Right.
He stole the picnic baskets.
It is quite possible, and the only thing I could think of when I was listening to this guy's story is a dog of any sort, a wolf, dog, coyote even.
It was a dog!
Would have to get up on its back legs in order to get the deer out of the truck. So it's quite possible he's seen, something, but it wasn't actually a dog fucking man,
It wasn't a dog fucking man?
You have to get on the dark internet to see that shit.
No,
the dark web.
I'm sure you could search it right now if you wanted to.
Dude, listen, I'm fucking on Facebook quite a bit, and I'll tell you what, some asshole at least once a day posts in some fucking group a picture of a dog fucking a chick. At least once a day.
I see it all the time. But no, so I think a lot of them if you believe most of the dogmen or werewolf stories that come out now are probably just misinterpretations, just like Bigfoot sightings or any kind of cryptid sighting, chupacabra sighting, whatever. So it's probably just a dog that had to get up to get whatever it was going for, like the guy's truck. He was trying to get the deer out of the truck. A wolf could get up on its hind legs just to get the deer out of the truck. I mean, it's not impossible for that to happen. So that's my take on the whole dog. I don't think there is a fucking dog man or a werewolf or anything. It'd be
neat
like
if there was, though.
It would be cool, but a little scary, I think.
Be fucking pretty neat. But yeah, it would be fucking scary. I wouldn't want to run into the dog man or werewolf man.
I think they're real. So now what?
Yeah, you do?
Yeah, I do. I just don't think they're canines. I think they're primates.
Well, now, like I said, it could be misinterpretation.
You think they're like bloody baboons?
Well, I think, get
your hands off me, you bloody baboon!
I think Bigfoot is a type of primate, and there are primates that have snouts or muzzle appendages around the mouth, and I think that's what it is.
So a different variation of the same thing, the Bigfoot sighting, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
Like a different, obviously...
A different breed, perhaps.
Yeah, breed.
Cornelius, I named him Matthew and taught him to talk.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to take the leap, and now you've seen a Bigfoot, so that's different. But
I can't remember the scientific term for what they call that protrusion on the face of a monkey or baboon or whatever. But
yeah, well, yeah, it's a protrusion. I think is the scientific.
No, it's not called a protrusion. It's what I called it 5 minutes ago.
The muzzle?
There's an actual name for it. No, it's not muzzle, but I actually handled a sighting report from a kid, and he was very believable. I call him a kid. He was 18 at the time, and he had a sighting on his way back to the house from the tent that he was camping in. And, basically, these 3 guys were camping on the back of the property in a tent. They started hearing crazy noises outside the tent. So they got scared and abandoned the tent and headed back to the house on the ATV trail. They were all on a 4-wheeler. And this guy was sitting on the back next to one of the other guys, and they were holding an ice chest on their laps. And as they were going down the trail back towards the house, the ice chest, it's like it got stuck on something and it started coming out of their hands and off their lap. And the kid, yelled for the guy to stop the ATV. They stopped it, and he grabbed the ice chest and pulled it back up on him. And in the brake lights of the ATV, he looked back behind them on the trail, and he said, standing about 10 feet away in the middle of the trail was this large, upright, hair-covered creature. And he said whenever he looked forward, he was about waist level with his eyes, and he looked up towards its head. And whenever he got to the face, he said it had a large protruding muzzle, and the hair was covering it, and he said looked like it was caked back with mud. I'm thinking blood, possibly. He said it did not have ears that he could see, no pointy ears on the top of the head or anything like that. He was familiar with seeing black bears in the area. He had hunted them there successfully. It wasn't a bear, according to this guy. He said it was like probably around 8 feet tall, and it freaked him out. And he started yelling or whatever. They took off in the ATV. He gets back to the house. I was friends with the other kid's mother at the time. She was actually a Bigfoot researcher, and she immediately put him on the phone and had him relate what he had seen. And I had the kid describe it in detail several times. Talked to him a week later and had him go over the story again. Nothing in it changed. He sent me a drawing of the creature. I sent him a bunch of pictures of different types of animals with muzzles, bulldogs, wolves, German shepherds, just everything I could think of. And the one he picked out was a baboon, not a mandrill, but an actual baboon, and said that was the closest to what it looked like. And he had known about Bigfoot in the area. He had a friend that had a Bigfoot sighting, and that area is a hotbed for Bigfoot activity, supposedly. And there's a lot of sightings and stuff that happen there. And he had heard a Bigfoot described numerous times, and that was the thing that just really stood out for him. He just kept saying, Bigfoot's not supposed to look like that. That's not what they're supposed to look like. And it just really freaked him out.
So, Matt, we had a report close to here that almost identical to what you're saying as far as description of the animal. Now, it wasn't made public. It just came in. The public part was that it was a Bigfoot sighting in this area. I can't, because I'm not privileged to give out the information. But anyway, I spoke to the investigator who went there, and the description that you just gave almost identically matches what the witness gave in this description of this. It came in as a Bigfoot sighting, but it was definitely not your typical, Bigfoot. It was more like a dogman, basically, is what. But the characteristics sounded more like what you were just saying. So those reports do come in, and a lot of the times they come in, to Bigfoot investigators, because nobody, how many dogman investigators are there?
None.
Many.
I don't know of any.
Well, you got one.
Well, whenever we did the show recently on the Dogman, we had Vic Cundiff as the guest, which is the host of Dogman Encounter Radio, and I asked him, "Are there any groups or people actively researching this creature, like going out into the field like Bigfooters do?" And he said none that he's aware of.
So that type of, and we've talked about dogmen on the show before, but that type of report generally comes from maybe my region more than yours. It seems like Michigan.
Yeah, well, this kid was in far eastern Texas. I will say around kind of the Caddo Lake area, but not really. And down in that area, especially Louisiana, Luke Garou, you've got stories of werewolves dating back forever.
So it does happen down there, but a lot of the reports that come in nowadays seem to be centered around Michigan for some reason.
Yeah, the Great Lakes area.
So, and the one that came in here was, I'm not going to give the town because that'll give them the sighting report, and since they didn't release the details of what the creature looked like, I don't want to do that because it's not my place. The investigator can do that, but it was right on Lake Erie, so it's.
Well, the interesting thing about that is, there's a lot of movies and comic books and everything else have been made about the Wendigo, the folklore of the Wendigo, but whenever you get into the actual native, I guess they would still be considered Native American, Canadian descriptions of what these creatures supposedly look like, it has nothing to do with being a man that's eaten the flesh, of another man and turns into this horrible monstrosity. It's basically described like a meat-eating Bigfoot with a snout. And the legend of the Wendigo actually comes from the area of Canada right above the Great Lakes area. It comes up there from the northeast. So maybe there's something to it. I don't know.
Well, I recently went past the area where that sighting report came from, and there's a lot of red flags in it. Of course, every sighting report has red flags because it is an unknown, But it was right outside a taxidermy shop, so that's a big red flag there. However, I drove by the area a couple weeks ago, and I noticed the taxidermy shop there, so I knew I was in the right spot. And it's a heavily wooded area, and not typical of the rest of that town, So it is possible, I suppose, that there is a creature there. Now, like I said, I don't believe that there's a canine, a big dog man kind of thing.
Right.
I would have to go, maybe on closer to your side, where it's maybe more of a Bigfoot type creature, just a different variation, different genus, or
if anything at all. I mean,
if anything at all, yeah.
Even with the sighting report that I took, like, I believe the kid. Don't get me wrong. Like, he was crying on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
18-year-old kid, from Texas. Rednecks from Texas don't cry,
Yeah, they don't.
And, but he was already spooked. It was nighttime. Bigfoot stories in his head from the area. I mean, there's a lot of things that could cause him to misidentify something or see something that may have possibly not actually been there.
Now, if I remember correctly, my sister had a sighting of some weird creature quite a few years ago now, when she was younger, and I want to say hers was on all fours, but it would fit more of a dogman or a canine type cryptid than it would a Bigfoot. So are there two types of cryptids out there that kind of maybe get confused sometimes? And maybe not any cryptids at all, for all we know. You know what I mean? So
Well,
if you see it,
I mean, if you're talking like maybe a hidden wolf population somewhere where it shouldn't be, or some remnant of, even a dire wolf or something, that survived the ice age and has somehow made it in a small enough breeding population over the years, or something like that. Like, I believe something like that's a real possibility in some areas, but
right. Well, I can tell you, we have, and we're not supposed to in eastern Ohio have large cats, but I can tell you that they're here. Maybe a very sparse population, but they are here. We don't have bobcats or anything like that to get confused with, and of course we have house cats. But
well, see, okay, you hear that all over the place about mountain lions or pumas or cougars or whatever you want to call them, and it's the same way here in Oklahoma. But people photograph them all the time. One got hit by a car. Like, they confirm all this. So what's the big deal? Why do they continue to say that all these states don't have these animals when it's clear that they do?
That I don't know. And I think a lot of the times, I think it's due to maybe not tourism, but maybe a hunting thing. They're afraid that if they say, okay, we got mountain lions in the area, less people will buy hunting licenses, or less people will recreate in that area, that kind of thing. I don't know. But I can tell you, I found a cat print the size of my fucking hand, and I got big, giant hands.
Huge hands. So, in case you didn't know this, Steve Alcorn is known throughout the upper United States for the size of his hands.
And just ask my girlfriend; she'll tell you.
And his little cock.
No.
Wow.
Baby like penis.
I had this discussion last night.
Oh.
His infantile penis.
I would say above average
for a.
Would you say a baby arm?
I would say, well, it depends on the size of the baby.
If the baby was possibly a second trimester fetus.
A newborn, probably not. Maybe a 6-month-old, yeah, probably. Yeah. Something in that range.
Well, we do have cats here in Maine, and bobcats, and fucking mountain lions, and all kinds of other shit. And I can tell you, fuck the Dogman and fuck werewolves. I've run into wild dogs at night, and it's not a fun situation at all. When I was a teenager, I moved in with my cousin, and my cousins and my aunt and uncle, and they lived in a pit, or what we would call a pit around here is a place where they used to like fucking dig up, earth and fucking transport it somewhere else, use it for fucking fill, whatever. And they wound up building their house in the front of this pit, and there was a back section, and I may have told this story on the fucking show before, or on one incarnation on this fucking channel. But where I came from a different town in southern Maine, and when I moved in with these guys, I had been used to, back in my hometown, just going out in the woods and camping. We just fucking camped everywhere. We didn't give a fuck. We just fucking weekends, we'd all get together, go out in the woods. Fucking somebody would wind up getting beer or something, and we'd all get a little buzz on, and we'd fucking hang out in the woods. You know, our fucking parents didn't give a shit that we were gone all weekend. It's just the way that it was. But I kept bugging my cousin and his friend to go back down into this back section of the pit, go camping for the night, and they kept balking at it. Finally, we went down, and we got set up, got our fire going, we were hanging out, shooting the shit, and where we were was like a dugout section, so there was a rim, and there was an upper ledge that ran around like a semicircle. And we're sitting down around the fire, and all of a sudden I'm looking up on the ridge, and I'm seeing these fucking streaks just fucking across the fucking ridge, just back and forth. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then my cousin starts noticing it, and I see that he's noticing it, and you know, we're like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck? And then we catch it, and it's fucking a dog. So we start getting nervous. We fucking pack everything up. Load everything into we had a cooler, load everything into the fucking cooler. Richard and I start taking the cooler up the trail, and Greg's walking behind us. And I'm on the back end of the cooler, so Richard's in front, I'm on the back, Greg's behind me. And as we're walking up through, I look over to my right, and to the right is where it went into the bushes. And that section rose up. So it's very well could have been that the whatever it was just, you know, sitting at a higher elevation, so its eyes were, you know, at the same height as mine. But when I turned to the right and looked, because I felt like something was watching me, there were two fucking yellow eyes just looking at me. And I didn't
Dogman.
And I didn't fucking freak out. It's one of the only times in my life when something like that happened. Like, I've had people like fucking come up on me and I'll fucking jump. It's one of the only times in my life that I kept my fucking calm. I did not freak out. I didn't lose it. I just turned my head back, kept breathing normally, and just fucking kept walking on. My heart was going a mile a minute. But you know, we keep walking up through the trail, and then all of a sudden my cousin behind me says, I'm really pissed off with you guys. And we're like, what? And he's like, I'm fucking pissed off with you guys. And we couldn't figure out what the fuck where he was going with this. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, just get up to the house, and I'll tell you when we get up to the house. And you know, so Richard and I are back and forth, like, what the fuck is he talking about? So we're moving up the trail, and we break out into the open outside of the trees, and Greg says, oh, Jesus. He's like, I just wanted you guys to keep moving, because I looked behind us, and there were 3 dogs walking us out. Side by side.
Fun.
They just walked us up the fucking trail. But I know what I saw. I saw it was a dog face, you know, those yellow fucking eyes, and it like I said, it's one of the only times in my life where something like that really out of the ordinary, and just like it was shocking, but it didn't jump me. I was just like, if I don't keep my calm in this fucking situation, I'm fucked.
So were they just, what kind of dogs? I mean,
if I were to say, I would say they were probably either, you know, coy wolves or coyotes, but coyotes will generally like avoid you. They won't fuck with you.
Yeah, I was going to ask. That was my next question. Is
but
that
I know
behavior?
Coy wolves will. I don't know if there was just a pack of wild dogs. I don't know if it was wolves. I don't know. The behavior was very odd. That's all I know. For those
they were
types,
probably possessed.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not saying that, but the behavior was odd. If you take any type of dog that is indigenous to this area, they wouldn't act like that.
Generally, wild animals of any sort are going to do their best to avoid you.
Why were they circling us, and why did they follow us out? Those are my only questions. And I recently talked about this with my cousin again because it's been years since we'd talked about it. And I brought it up, and he's like, you remember that? And I'm like, yeah, of course I fucking remember that. He's like, dude, people don't believe me that happened.
So, wolves and dogs generally run in packs. So obviously you had a pack. Could it have been that there was young ones around and they were just protecting that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But I mean,
generally.
It was
generally when animals change their behavior, it's because they're protecting something. They're young or their food. That's generally what.
I mean, if you ask me, no, because we would go down in there during the day. That area, it wasn't like we never went down in there. This just happened.
I'm going with demon dogs. That's it. Fuck it.
Maybe it was Dogman. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I can tell you they were dog-like. That's all I can say.
But I mean, you saw the actual body, or you just saw the face?
All I saw was a face. I saw no body.
So was it the height of a regular dog? Was it higher?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like I said, as we all know, from being, Matt's taken sighting reports, we've all done stuff about, investigations. Eyewitness testimony, shit. It's absolute shit, especially after the fact, long after the fact. And I know that, and I have never tried to candy coat this. That section of the road, it was like a dirt road that came down. It came around, so it wound down and around into the lower pit. And as you went down the road, there was a ridge. If you were going down the road into the pit, it was on your left. As we were coming out, it was on our right. So the other side's all open. It's not open, but it's trees. There's no rise, if you know what I mean. So,
right.
As I was walking out, this thing was on the side where there was a rise. So it very well could have been, it was dark, I don't know, that this thing could have been sitting up high on that rise. And that's why its head was at my eye level. But when I turned, it was right in my face. And I'm not even like, that's no joke. It was right in my face. It was not even a foot and a half away, I would say. Maybe two.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was fucking close. And like I said, it's one of those instances where I didn't freak out. I didn't lose my cool. I didn't... And I don't know how the fuck I did it to this day. Like, I don't know how that happened.
So
I was 14 years old. Well,
a lot of
14, 15.
A lot of Bigfoot reports, kind of sound like what you're saying as far as being followed, escorted out of the woods, basically, or being circled or things like that.
Yeah, it was
that's
very odd.
Because animals generally don't behave in that nature. They're going to avoid you at all costs, if at all possible. I mean, once you start leaving their area, they probably would have never had that behavior in the first place. Generally, wild animals don't.
I think you're really lucky.
Yeah, I think we were.
It sounds like predatory behavior, and they just didn't get the chance to single one of you out.
Yeah, I think if Greg hadn't been as big of a guy as he is and was, like at that age, he was even a really big guy, and he was the rear guy, and he had a huge fucking stick on him when we were walking out, and I don't know if they sensed that there were too many of us to try, and we were too close together. I don't know, But all I know is it scared the hell out of me. And to this day, it puts chills on me just thinking about it. Just like what happened was I was being looked at as fucking prey.
Right.
Well, it sounds like it. Even if it was just an ordinary wolf.
And then I get to hear a cunt head from Bangor tell me that I need to go out in the woods more.
See, that I hate using that word.
I'll say it for you, Steve.
Yes,
that cunt head
from Bangor, jumps to conclusions and doesn't really get all the facts before he opens his fucking mouth.
Well, I say Bangor, but I know it's the Bangor area. It's not exactly Bangor.
He reads whatever he wants into the situation. You can agree with the fucker, and he'll still think you're disagreeing with him because that's how he wants it to be. So let's not.
That's the thing about cunt heads.
Yeah, that is.
They do that.
Thing. I'm just not a fan of that word. I know our friend Richard uses it a lot.
But I don't have his rant this week either. Listen,
he's not my friend.
This weekend has been so fucked up, or this weekend had been so fucked up. We didn't do the show on Sunday because I was under the weather. I've just been burning the candle at both ends, trying to keep everything going and going back and forth between my father's house and here and doing that shit. And that ends this week. So I'll be back onto a more solid schedule. Steve and I are going to cut out doing the news during the week, and for the time being on Saturday too, until I can get myself on a better schedule, because I can't do this anymore. I can't.
Well, scheduling is a big issue for this show sometimes because we all have lives too. We don't just sit here and wait to do the fucking show.
Yeah, we don't all just sit around and go, hey, when are we going to do another show?
Because if that were the case, we'd do it every fucking night.
Yeah, it'd be a different story, but we don't. We all have shit we've got going on. Steve's got shit he's got going on. Matt's got shit he's got going on. And I definitely have tons of shit going on with everything that I do for the channel, the blog, and then in my own life, trying to keep up with shit going on there. I have kids.
But the show itself, this show itself.
This show is sitting right. The only reason we're doing it on a different day today is because I wanted to do a makeup show.
Yeah,
to try and get something out, before Halloween. I wanted to do a show on the Dogman / werewolves, whatever you want to call it. I don't really like Dogman, I guess, as a moniker.
Well,
I like
it's
werewolf.
The same genre, right? It's the same genre.
But I like werewolf.
Either.
If you're talking about
what's your favorite werewolf movie?
My favorite werewolf movie?
Yeah.
Oh man. Ooh.
I'll just give you mine. You guys already shut it down. It's Teen Wolf.
No, I can't.
It's probably the only one I've
Teen Wolf 2?
No, I didn't like Teen Wolf 2.
I don't know.
There's so many good ones.
No, it's not about them being good. Okay, let's face facts on that. Until recently, like, creature effects were horrible for years and years. I mean, you had some good stuff, like with American Werewolf in London, which for its time was very good, but in retrospect is like,
I have to go American Werewolf in London for me.
That's where I'm hung up on. That was the one
that introduced me to the whole genre.
See, I'm hung up on American Werewolf in London or The Howling, and I have to go The Howling as a series because I was really into that for some reason when I was young. And I don't know
I've never got into the whole werewolf thing. I just, it's not to me.
And I have to give it an honorable mention. Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet's also amazing.
Silver Bullet's a good story and a nostalgic movie. I wouldn't go top werewolf movie, but I love the movie. Like, I could sit down and watch that movie right now. I might when we're done with this fucking show. I might.
I wish Gary Busey was my crazy uncle.
No shit, and set me up with a fucking. I don't even have fucked up legs, and I want a fucking crazy wheelchair.
Yeah.
I want the pastor to be a werewolf. That was a great movie, though. I saw that movie. My cousin and I, her and I used to sit around and watch horror movies because her parents would let us. And that is one we watched incessantly. We watched it so fucking much. God, did we watch that movie a lot. I'm crazy.
And then Werewolf, the television series, was also great.
Yes. I got into that for a little while. Although, you know what? For the life of me, Matt, I can't remember how that show went. I remember that I was very into it because my friend and I, at the time, I had my BB gun, and he would draw werewolves on paper, and we would shoot them with my BB gun. We would set them up as like targets. That's how into that fucking show we were. Like, we were fucking.
That show was great, man.
We fucking.
It's about the guy. The guy started turning. He had the curse of the werewolf. And you get the pentagram on his hand.
On his hand. Yeah.
Yeah, and he would kill bad werewolves. And there is also a werewolf hunter that was trying to track him down. And spoiler alert, the werewolf hunter was also the badass werewolf. But you didn't know that while the show was going on.
See, now I want to go back and check it out. But I'll go back and check it out, and I'll hate it. You know, it's one of those things with, like, a Knight Rider.
Right, like, this was what I liked.
Like, Knight Rider. Like, I can remember when I went back and tried to rewatch Knight Rider, and it was all in with Kit and Michael Knight. When I was a kid, I would wait for the new episodes to come out, fucking give me Knight Rider, and then to try and watch it now, I would slit my own throat.
Yeah, I had this same experience recently with, it wasn't a TV show, it was music. And I was a big fan of this singer when I was a child. And I went back recently and listened to the music, and now I can't figure out why I ever fucking liked Ray Stevens. I mean, The Streak, that's classic and shit, but...
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And, you know, Ahab the Arab is okay, I suppose. But the rest of them... Mississippi Squirrel Revival, I really do. I still like that one. But generally, 90% of his stuff is shit. Everything is beautiful.
Mama Got Ran Over by a Reindeer.
That wasn't Ray Stevens. That was... I can't remember.
Star Trekking Across the Universe.
But I believe the best line I've heard in a while was whenever my friend was told that he reminded this woman of a young Paul Williams.
Just an old fishing love song.
You never want that comparison made
Coming
with
down
you.
in three-part harmony.
I actually did have that Ray Stevens conversation, by the way, with Marcia. Why did I ever fucking like that guy?
Because you're awful.
Right, yeah, I guess I am.
Do you have any news?
Yeah, lots of it.
I'd have gotten to that sooner, but I almost coughed. Like, really bad.
From CBSNews.com. The owners of a Rhode Island farmhouse that inspired the 2013 horror movie The Conjuring said the film turned their lives into a real-life nightmare. For 2 years, the homeowners say they've been inundated by movie fans trespassing on their property. Now they plan to sue Warner Brothers.
Get off my lawn!
I mean, wouldn't it work out better if they just charged admission?
Or sold the house for like twice what it's worth.
Right. The Conjuring was actually filmed in North Carolina, but it's based on the supposed haunting of a family living in Harrisville, Rhode Island during the 1970s. Norma Sutcliffe bought the Rhode Island house in 1987 and lived there in peace until 2 years ago, reports CBS News correspondent Michelle Miller. When The Conjuring opened in theaters in 2013, it was a box office hit that raked in $137 million in the U.S. and terrified audiences worldwide. The film, based on what it claims is a true story, follows two ghost hunters in the 1970s investigating the haunted Rhode Island home of the Perron family. A skunk just sprayed outside. My God, that stinks. Woo, baby.
What the hell?
I hope the dog didn't get into it. Oh my God, that would suck. My dog loves to play with skunks. The Conjuring was, I already read that part. The film that I read
like she didn't get paid for her house being in the movie or something?
No, see, her house
just trying to be relevant again.
Her house wasn't in the movie. She bought the house that the story was based off of. The movie showed a different house that was filmed in North Carolina. She lives in Rhode Island.
That's even more confusing.
So she bought the original house that
Who
the
does
story
that?
was based off.
Who buys the house that the movie The Conjuring was based on?
She did it
bought
long
a
before
long
the
time
movie,
ago.
Matt.
Right.
But the movie was still based on it.
She may have known.
They didn't disclose any of that information during the sale.
Like, by the
way, you live in one of the most haunted houses in the United States.
So anyway,
Still on it?
Warner Brothers actually obtained the rights to the story from the Perron family, the original owners of that home that this woman bought. Sutcliffe said she didn't know about the film until a friend mentioned it was in production. Apparently, she wants to say it's a violation of her privacy, but they think they have the right to do it, Sutcliffe said. So, I don't know. Does she have a case?
What is this Amityville nonsense?
I didn't know. I live in this house in Amityville. Yeah, right. I mean, it's the same situation. If you bought a house that had this big haunting story, and, you know, I'm sure she's had ghost investigators claim or want to come there and investigate before the movie ever came out, wouldn't you think?
I would think so, yes.
I mean, it's obviously based on a widely known story, is what I'm saying. So, I don't know. From KOB.com, a Pruitt, New Mexico man was arrested Thursday afternoon. This would be Thursday last afternoon after allegedly beating his friend to death.
You mean this isn't a story from the future, Steve?
No, Thursday last. I'm doing my best UK. That's how they say it. Oh, Thursday last. I can't do the accent, though. I'll have to get Sir Richard to do that for me. Damon Perry, 23, told Grants Pass police he was binge drinking and binge watching The Walking Dead when his friend began to change into a zombie. By the way, this is a real story. Grants police originally responded to
best prank ever.
Responded to a Grants apartment complex after a 911 caller said a man, later identified as Perry, was running around the complex threatening people with a knife. When officers arrived, two maintenance workers were holding Perry down. Inside a nearby apartment, an officer found the friend unresponsive with signs of trauma, including a knife lodged inside his head. Yeah, that would be a sign of trauma.
What? With signs of trauma? Like the knife sticking out of his skull? That kind of trauma?
He's still moving, man! Kill him!
Police identified the victim Monday as
but that's what you get for fucking with the drunk guy. You know, like, I'm gonna eat you. And I'm like, stop it.
Perry was taken to police headquarters and interviewed. There he told detectives that while the two were drinking, Paquin began to change into a zombie and then tried to bite him.
See? He was fucking with the drunk guy.
Yep.
Yeah. He allegedly then punched and kicked Paquin and also hit Paquin with an electric guitar and microwave before he stabbed him in the head with a knife, apparently. Lead Detective Sergeant Moses Marquez is working the case and says there was one more gruesome detail to the murder. I do believe his story behind this is true, Sergeant McCoy said. He genuinely felt that his friend was changing into a zombie due to his inebriated state. Our department is dealing with something that I have never seen or heard of in my entire 13 years here. Perry has been charged with an open count of murder and is being held at the Cibola County Detention Center. I'm sorry to laugh at that story, but...
Wow.
And you thought that one was far-fetched. But that is a true story. That really did fucking happen.
No, I
From the
believe it.
Mirror. Yeah, from the mirror.co.uk. Niara Tarella Isley, a former radar tracking officer for the U.S. Air Force, recalled the some bizarre and shocking incidents under hypnosis.
You get the name right.
Yeah, I know. And that was a hard one, too.
And then fuck up bizarre.
Yeah. A former U.S. Air Force worker has claimed...
It's Bizarro Steve.
Okay. A former U.S. Air Force...
Farmer.
Air Force worker has claimed... I don't know if I really want to read this. She was abducted by reptile aliens who raped her on the moon countless times. Niara Tarella Isley, who worked as a radar tracking officer, said she was snatched by a humanoid with a tail and taken to a secret base on the far side of the moon. While there,
Dogman.
she said she was made to have...
How did they get there?
I don't know. While there, she was made to have sex with aliens and lift boxes. I'm not sure what lift boxes are, but she had to have sex with those, apparently. Miss Isley told how she worked... Lift boxes. Would that be like an elevator? Because this is a UK story. She had to have sex with an elevator.
What? That's what they meant.
I don't know.
Why would they have to take her to the moon? Like, wouldn't just like a locked door in an empty office do it? I mean,
If you're gonna gangbang a fucking air traffic controller, why not just do it here?
I don't know.
yeah.
Miss Isley told how she worked at the Tonopah test range in Nevada, but said she could recall very little detail about her time there. She claimed security guards raped her in front of an audience after she was jabbed in the neck with a mystery drug while in an underground lair. This story just gets better.
That's probably true.
And then she was raped on the moon, she said.
Wow.
Miss Isley
This is
described the
fucking-
bizarre and shocking...
It's just a rapey story.
Yeah, they took her where they faked the moon landing.
Miss Isley described the bizarre and shocking series of incidents under hypnosis. In taped interviews with, oh my God, Aquarian Radio. See, they had it all in one word, so it confused me there. Aquarian Radio. She claimed she was taken into space 8 to 10 times over several months when she was 25 years old. She said the aliens put her to work, having her operate
I'm
electronic
39
machinery.
and I've never been to space once.
Yeah. She had to operate electronic machinery to excavate the dark parts of the moon. Describing how she was used for sex almost every night she was on the moon. She said she was regularly passed between the reptilians. So she was, yeah. In addition, she said gray aliens were present, helping with the work, as well as human personnel who were also forced to help.
They don't discriminate,
reptilians
Steve,
do their bidding on
between
them.
reptilian
No.
or grays. Everybody gets
After
to
the
have fun when it comes to, tying up the human woman and having their way with them.
Yes.
The fact that this woman was actually hired for a somewhat important job just blows my mind.
After the abduction, she said she couldn't remember much of what had happened.
Remind me to show
including
you guys a
aspects of her
picture
work,
after the show.
leading her to
Okay,
think her
I
memory had been
keep that in mind. Picture after the show. Thank you.
The incident stopped in 1980, she said. She sought hypnosis in an attempt to fill the holes in her memory. Oh, sorry. It helped her uncover more details about the abuse she experienced on the moon. Describing her abductor, she said, he was humanoid.
Did she,
and
like
did have
Betty
a tail.
Hill, draw a detailed star system map?
She described her, abuser. She said he had yellow eyes with vertical split pupils.
He looked like
On
an
the dark side
iguana.
of the moon. On the dark side of the moon, she said, there was a lot of sexual abuse. She also said it was I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Speaking of which, if you haven't, check out my strange creature video.
Oh, shit. She lives in Colorado now, by the way. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but that's in the story. At night, she said she wasn't allowed to sleep. She was passed around, for more sex.
And now she
was put on. She was put on the moon base rotisserie.
She said she was scared. She knew she had to get back to her daughter, so she was pretty compliant. I just didn't want to do anything that would get me killed. Many alien conspiracy theories suggest that the U.S. government is in on abductions, often helping the Greys do the work.
Of course.
Yes. Raping, random radar workers, apparently. Theorists claim that this is why officials have not fully investigated claims of their own employees and former staff. Maybe they haven't investigated it because that woman is fucked up. Now, maybe we should do a show on hypnosis. Or didn't we do that already?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Maybe we should be hypnotized.
There's just a blank where that show should be.
Yeah, I want to say that there was an episode, but
I know we did.
It's not coming to me right now.
Well, we'll have to be hypnotized to recall those events about being raped.
Every time I think about that show, whether we did it or not, my butthole hurts.
I was not involved in any way with that show.
You lie.
Before the accusations start flying. Anyway, fellas, that's the news.
This has been episode 94 of the Fortean Slip, the I Love Me a Good Werewolf movie Matt episode. If you like this shit, hit the thumbs up button. If you don't, hit the thumbs down button. Leave a comment. Subscribe. We are now over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube.
More than 300.
More than 300. It is.
And we don't condone rape on Earth or any other planet.
No raping of any human beings on any planets should be going on by Greys, reptilians, or human beings alike.
Can a reptilian rape a Grey? Is that okay?
You'll have to check with their societal caste structure, Steve.
All right.